Earth gave one warning: do not enter Terran space. But when the Empire ignored it, they discovered why humans never repeat themselves. The Empire fleet moved through deep space with slow, powerful motion. Their ships were large and built for conquest, each one carrying weapons that had destroyed entire worlds before they had never faced defeat, and they believed no one in the galaxy could stop them. Ahead of them lay a region marked by a simple signal sent by humans. The message had spread across many systems, but no one had taken it seriously. Terran space is forbidden. Do not enter. Inside the main command ship, the Empire commander stood tall, looking at the stars in front of him. His expression was calm, filled with pride and confidence. He had seen many warnings before, and all of them ended the same way. With victory, the humans are afraid, he said in a quiet voice. They hide behind words because they cannot fight. The officers around him agreed. They had studied humans. They believed humans were divided, weak, and unorganized. Nothing compared to the power of the Empire. Prepare to enter Terran space, the commander ordered. Engines grew brighter. The fleet moved forward, crossing the invisible line that humans had declared forbidden. Nothing happened. No defense ships appeared. No weapons fired. No signals responded. Just silence. The fleet continued deeper, scanning every direction, looking for signs of life or resistance. But there was nothing. No stations, no patrol ships, no movement. It was as if the entire region had been abandoned. One of the officers spoke softly. "Commander, this space is empty." The commander smiled slightly. "Even better," he said. "We will take it without effort." But as the fleet moved further, something strange began to happen. Their sensors started to give unclear reading signals, appeared and disappeared. Like shadows, their maps began to distort, showing empty space where there should be stars. Another officer looked at his screen with concern. "Commander, navigation systems are showing errors." "Reset them," the commander said. Without worry, the officer followed the order. But the problem did not go away. Instead, it grew worse. Ships began to drift slightly out of formation, not by choice, but as if something was pulling them in different directions. Communication signals became weak, voices breaking apart across the fleet. The commander turned his attention back to the screen, his confidence slowly fading. "What is causing this?" he asked. No one answered. Then suddenly all screens flickered at once. A new signal appeared. It was not coming from a ship. It was everywhere. A calm human voice filled the command room. "You have entered Terran space." The words were simple, but they carried weight. The commander stepped forward. "We do not recognize your authority," he replied. "This region now belongs to the Empire." There was a short silence, then the voice returned. Those three words echoed through the ship, stronger than any threat. Before the commander could respond, something changed. The darkness ahead of the fleet began to move. At first it was hard to see, just a shift in the stars, a distortion in space. Then shapes started to appear, massive structures hidden in the void, slowly revealing themselves. They were not planets. They were not ships. They were something else. Huge, silent constructs spread across the system, forming a network that surrounded the Empire fleet from every direction. The officers stared in shock. "Commander, we are being surrounded." The commander felt a cold weight in his chest. This was not empty space. This was controlled space. This was a trap, and they had walked directly into it. The moment the massive structures revealed themselves, the entire Empire fleet fell into uneasy silence. The officers could not understand what they were looking at. The shapes were too large, too perfect, and too still to be natural. They surrounded the fleet from every direction, forming a silent wall across space. Each structure stretched for miles, their surfaces dark and smooth, with faint lines of energy slowly glowing across them like veins waking from sleep. Inside the command ship, the tension began to rise. "Commander, these are not stations," one officer said. "They are not responding to our scans. We cannot identify their purpose." The commander stared at the screen, his confidence no longer as strong as before. "Then what are they?" No answer came. The human voice returned once again, calm and steady. "You were told not to enter." The commander stepped forward, his voice sharp. "This is just empty space. You have no power to stop us. We are the Empire." Silence followed. Then the structures moved, not fast, not aggressive, just enough to show they were alive. The fleet reacted instantly. Weapon systems activated, targeting systems locked onto every visible structure. Energy levels rose across every ship fire. The commander ordered hundreds of beams, missiles, and plasma shots filled the void, racing toward the structures. The Empire expected destruction. They expected explosions. But when the attacks reached their targets, they vanished. No impact, no damage, no effect. It was as if the structures had erased the attacks before they could even exist. Shock spread across the fleet. Commander, our weapons are not making contact. Fire again. He shouted. Another wave of attacks followed, stronger, faster, more focused. Again, nothing. The structures remained untouched, their surfaces glowing slightly brighter, as if absorbing the energy instead of being damaged by it. Fear began to grow slowly inside the crew, something unfamiliar, something they had never felt before. The commander tried to hold control. This is some kind of defense system. Find a weakness, but the sensors offered nothing. Every scan returned incomplete data. Every attempt to analyze the structures failed. Then something else happened. A low pulse moved through space, silent but powerful, passing to every ship at once. Systems flickered, lights dimmed. Navigation began to fail. Commander, we are losing control, one officer said. Engines are not responding properly. Another voice followed. Weapons are locking out. We cannot fire again. The fleet that once felt unstoppable was now struggling to even stay in position. Ships drifted slowly, unable to correct their movement formation, broke apart not by choice, but by force. The commander felt the situation slipping away from him. This was not a normal battle. This was something far beyond their understanding. What are these things? He whispered. No one answered. The human voice returned once more. You were given a choice. Leave. The word echoed through the ship, heavy and final. Some officers looked at the commander, waiting for him to accept, to give the order to retreat, but pride held him back. We do not retreat from empty threats, he said, his voice tight. Then you will learn. The reply came without emotion. Suddenly, one of the structures shifted, its surface opening slowly, revealing a deep core of intense light energy gathered inside it, building faster and faster. Every sensor detected it. Every system screamed, warning. Commander, we are detecting a weapon unlike anything we have seen before. Before the commander could respond, the structure released its attack. A single beam of pure energy crossed the distance, instantly striking one of the Empire ships. For a brief moment, the ship remained. Then it folded inward, collapsing into itself before vanishing completely. No explosion, no debris, nothing left behind. Silence returned again, but now it was filled with fear, real fear. The Empire fleet had entered Terran space, believing it was empty. But now they understood. They had not entered empty space. They had entered a controlled battlefield, and they were completely surrounded. The disappearance of the Empire ship left a deep silence across the fleet. No one moved. No one spoke. The space around them felt different now, heavier, as if something unseen was pressing down on every ship. Inside the command vessel, the crew stared at their screens, unable to understand what they had just witnessed. One moment, a fully armed warship existed. The next moment it was gone, without sound, without fire, without trace. The commander felt his thoughts slow down, his confidence breaking piece by piece. This was not war. This was something beyond it. Something that ignored rules and limits. Report, he said, but his voice no longer carried strength. Commander, we cannot track the weapon. We cannot measure its energy output. It does not behave like any known system. Another officer added, the structures are increasing energy levels across the entire network. They are connected, all of them acting as one system. The commander looked again at the surrounding constructs. Now more of them were becoming visible, as if the darkness itself was pulling back to reveal their true size. There were dozens, then hundreds, forming a vast grid that covered the entire system, each one linked to the other, each one watching. This was not a defense line. This was a cage. The human voice returned, calm, unchanged. You have seen enough. Leave now. The commander closed his eyes for a brief moment, his mind searching for a way out. If they retreated, now they could still survive. They could report this. They could warn the Empire, but pride and fear clashed inside him. We cannot leave like this, he said quietly. We will lose everything, then lose everything. The voice replied, those words cut deeper than any weapon. Before the commander could respond, another disturbance spread through the fleet. Ships at the edge of the formation began to drift faster, pulled by an unseen force. Their engines tried to push back, but failed. Their movement was no longer under their control. "Commander, something is pulling us inward," one officer said, his voice shaking. Toward what? The commander asked. Toward the center of the network. The realization hit instantly. They were being repositioned, not attacked, not destroyed. Move. Like pieces on a board, the structures shifted, again adjusting their positions with slow precision, forming new angles, new lines, new paths that guided the alien fleet deeper into the system. "They are controlling space itself," one officer whispered. The commander watched as one of the Empire ships tried to break formation, its engines flaring bright, pushing with everything it had. For a second it resisted. Then the same invisible force crushed its movement, dragging it sideways into alignment with the rest of the fleet. No explosion, no damage, just complete control. Fear spread openly, now across every ship, across every mind. This was not a battlefield, this was a system designed to dominate anything inside it. The commander stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the center of the grid. "What is in the center?" he asked. No one answered at first. Then the sensor slowly revealed it, a massive signal growing stronger than all others, combined something hidden deeper, something not yet visible. Energy readings began to rise beyond measurable limits. Whatever it was waking up. The human voice spoke again, softer but heavier than before. "You were not meant to see this." The commander felt a chill run through him. "Then, why show us?" he asked. A short pause followed. "So you understand." The space ahead began to distort, light bending inward, shadows stretching as something enormous started to move within the center of the network. The structures around them dimmed slightly, as if giving way to something greater, something far more powerful. The commander stared, unable to look away. This was the truth behind the warning. This was what the Empire had ignored, and now it was about to reveal itself slowly. The shape began to form, vast, silent, and beyond anything the Empire had ever imagined. The shape in the center of the network continued to form slowly, as if space itself was struggling to reveal it. The darkness bent around it, stars faded behind it, and the entire system seemed to hold its breath. Inside the command ship, no one moved. No one dared to speak. Every eye was fixed on the growing silhouette. At first it looked like a shadow without edges. But then lines began to appear, sharp, unnatural, perfect. The kind of design that could only be made with purpose. It was massive, far beyond anything the Empire had ever built. Even the largest war stations felt small compared to it. "Commander, energy levels are rising beyond limit," one officer said, his voice trembling. "We cannot measure it." The commander did not respond. His mind was locked onto the image. As more details became clear, layers of heavy armor stretched across its surface. Glowing veins of light ran through it, pulsing slowly like a living thing. This was not just a structure. This was a weapon. No one knew how long it had been there. Hidden in silence, waiting. The human voice returned, calm as ever. "You crossed the line." Those words echoed through the ship and into every mind across the fleet. The commander stepped forward, his voice weaker than before. "What is that?" There was no answer. The massive object began to move. Not fast, not sudden, just a slow shift that carried impossible weight with it. The entire network adjusted around it, as if everything else existed only to support this one creation. The fleet felt it instantly. Gravity readings changed, navigation systems failed completely. Ships began to drift again, pulled by forces they could not understand. "We are losing all control," one officer said. "Engines are not responding. We cannot move." The commander gripped the rail, trying to stay steady. This was no longer about control. This was about survival. The shape finally came into full view. It was a Titan, a Terran war Titan. A moving fortress built on a scale that made the Empire fleet look like dust. Its surface was covered in weapons larger than ships. Its core burned with a steady, powerful light. It did not rush. It did not show aggression. It simply existed. And that alone was enough to break the will of the fleet. Some ships attempted to fire in panic, sending weak attacks toward the Titan. But the moment the energy left their weapons, it faded into nothing, erased before reaching its target. The Titan did not react. It did not need to. The commander felt something inside him collapse, all his pride, all his certainty gone, replaced by a cold understanding. This was not a fight they could win. This was a demonstration. The Titan slowly raised one of its massive weapon systems. A structure so large it looked like a city turning, in space energy gathered its center, building quietly without sound. Every system across the fleet detected it. Every alarm screamed the same warning, incoming, but there was no time, no escape, no defense. The weapon fired. A single beam of light crossed the distance, instantly striking one of the Empire ships for a moment. Nothing happened. Then the ship folded inward, its entire structure collapsing into a point before vanishing completely. No explosion, no debris, no trace, just absence. Silence followed, deep and absolute. Another ship tried to move to escape, but its engines failed under the pressure of the field around them. Another beam formed, another ship disappeared. The Titan continued without emotion, without pause, each action controlled, precise, final inside the command ship. Fear spread fully now. No one tried to hide it. The commander stared at the screen, his mind no longer searching for victory, only for meaning. "Why show us this?" he whispered. The human voice answered. "So you remember." The words settled into the silence, heavier than anything before. This was not destruction for war. This was a message, a warning written in reality. And the Empire fleet was living inside it. The destruction did not stop, but it did not rush either. The Terran War Titan moved with calm control, as if time itself slowed around it. Each action measured, each strike perfect. The Empire fleet was no longer fighting, it was being removed piece by piece. Inside the command ship, the air felt cold. The crew no longer looked at each other. Their eyes were fixed on the screens, watching their fleet disappear without noise, without resistance. "Commander, we have lost more than half our ships," one officer said, his voice shaking. Another voice followed. "Our weapons are offline. Our engines are barely holding. We cannot move out of this field." The commander stood still, his hands tight, his mind finally accepting the truth. This was not a battle they could turn. This was something they had already lost the moment they crossed into Terran space. Then a new signal appeared. "Contacts emerging behind us," one officer said. The commander turned. "Show me." Space behind the fleet distorted and opened, and from it new ships entered, human ships. Smaller than the Titan, but still powerful, each one moving with perfect alignment. Their formation closed quickly, surrounding what remained of the Empire fleet. "From every direction they are surrounding us," the officer said. The commander felt the last piece of control slip away. This was no longer a trap. This was a complete containment. The Titan slowed its advance as the human fleet took positions around it like silent guards. No wasted motion. No confusion. Only precision. One of the Empire's ships attempted to escape it, pushed its engines to full power, forcing its way toward a gap between the human ships. For a moment, it seemed possible. Then one human ship moved slightly, adjusting its position, and fired a controlled beam. The escaping ship lost power. Instantly. Its engines died, its weapons went dark, and it drifted into silence, unable to move. No destruction. No explosion, just complete shutdown. The message was clear. Escape was not allowed inside. The command ship panic finally broke through the remaining control. "What do we do?" one officer whispered. Another said, "We cannot fight. We cannot run. We are trapped." The commander closed his eyes for a brief moment. Everything he had believed, everything he had trusted was gone, replaced by a single reality. They were at the mercy of something far beyond them. "Open all channels," he said. The officers hesitated, but obeyed. The commander stepped forward, his voice no longer proud, no longer strong. "We surrender." The word spread across the fleet, carried through every system, every ship. For a moment, nothing changed. The Titan did not stop. The human ships did not move. The pressure in space remained the same. Then, slowly, the Titan lowered its active weapons, its glowing systems dimming slightly but not fading completely. The human fleet held position, watching, waiting. The silence returned. But it was different now, not filled with fear but with uncertainty. The commander spoke again. "We will leave this space. We will not return." A pause followed. Then the human voice came back, calm, steady, unchanged. "You will leave." The commander waited for more, but nothing came. Confusion spread across the crew. "Is that all?" one officer asked. The commander did not answer. He understood something deeper. This was not mercy given freely. This was control. They were being allowed to leave, not because they deserved it, but because the humans wanted them to carry something back, a message. The Titan slowly turned away, its massive form shifting with quiet power, as if the battle had already ended long ago. The human fleet adjusted with it, maintaining formation, still surrounding the Empire ships, but no longer closing in. A path began. To open, the commander looked at the screen, his voice low, prepared to leave for the first time in their history. The Empire was not leaving as conquerors. They were leaving as survivors. And they would never forget what they had seen. The path out of Terran space opened slowly, like a silent command that did not need to be spoken. The human fleet shifted just enough to create a narrow corridor, and beyond it the dark emptiness of free space waited. The Empire ships did not move at first. Fear held them in place. Not fear of attack, but fear of what might happen if they made a wrong move again. Inside the command ship, the crew looked at the commander, waiting for his final order, their eyes no longer filled with pride, but with something new. Something they had never felt before, respect mixed with fear. The commander took a slow breath, his voice low and steady. Prepare all ships for exit. No sudden movement. Follow the path exactly. The order spread across the fleet. Engines began to glow softly, not with power but with caution. Ships adjusted their positions, slowly aligning with the corridor that had been given to them. No one spoke, no one questioned. One by one, the Empire ships began to move forward, passing between the silent human vessels that watched them without reaction. The Terran War Titan remained behind them, its massive form still and calm like a guardian that did not need to chase what was already defeated. As the first ships crossed the boundary of the network, their systems returned fully, navigation stabilized, communication cleared, and the strange pressure that had filled space began to fade. But the memory of it did not fade. Inside every ship, inside every mind, the experience remained clear and heavy. The commander looked back one last time at the shrinking image of the Titan and the vast network that had trapped them. He understood now why the warning had been so simple, why it had not needed threats or force. Because nothing could truly describe what they had just faced. A voice filled the command channel once more. The same calm human voice, but now it carried something deeper, something final. Remember this. The words were quiet, but they echoed stronger than any weapon you were allowed to. Leave. The commander did not respond. He knew there was nothing to say. The fleet continued forward, leaving Terran space behind them. The corridor closed slowly once the last ship passed, sealing the system once again into silence. Far away beyond the boundary, the Empire ships gathered, trying to reform their formation. But it was no longer the same. The order, the confidence, the certainty, it was all gone. They had entered as conquerors. They returned as witnesses. Time passed, and the story began to spread from one system to another, carried by the very fleet that had once believed itself unstoppable. The tale of a forbidden space. The tale of a warning ignored. The tale of a power that did not shout, did not threaten, did not chase, but waited. And when the line was crossed, it responded with absolute control. Other empires listened. Some did not believe at first, but the evidence could not be denied. The recordings, the data, the silence left behind by ships that no longer existed. Slowly, the galaxy changed. Borders were respected, paths were reconsidered, and one rule became clear. Across every star system, do not enter Terran space. And in the deepest parts of the void, where no signal reached and no light remained, one truth stayed unspoken but understood by all. Humans did not need to prove their strength, because once seen, it was never forgotten.